You're listening to eBizRadio, the place to go if you want to know about the world of business. For daily podcast and article uploads, go to eBizRadio.com or follow us on Twitter at eBizRadioGlobal. My name is Nick Snow, and joining me for an edition of BizTrends is Dion Chang. Of course, we're chatting about on my radar, of course, on your radar, that is, the article UX, the industry and career of the future. Of course, we're looking at, I think, the traditional look of, well, get a degree, it'll serve you well. But I think that's changing ever so slightly. So, Dion, thanks very much for joining me, and let's shed some light on the topic.
Yeah, hi, Nick. I kind of positioned this because most of the universities have just started, and people are going in, and a lot of people aren't quite sure what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I've got a niece that's actually in New York, and she's just completed a course in this. And the more I just thought about it, the more I think this is really, as I said in the piece, going to be the career of the future. So for people who don't know what UX is, it's a rather sort of sexy abbreviation for user experience. And user experience has kind of been sitting in the tech space predominantly. So, for example, if you can't navigate a website easily, that points to really bad UX. So it's for sort of software developers who design the user experience, and it's as little as do you click once, do you click twice, do you swipe left, do you swipe right? It's all of those kind of things. But for me, it's also spilling into the physical realm, because part of the things that you look at is everything from booking an airplane ticket online. Is that an easy experience for you? Or if you go into a supermarket, your grocery shopping experience, are you led properly? Is the signage there? Is communication there? So UX is sitting both in a tech realm as well as in a physical realm. But for me, if I look a little bit kind of more into the future, you think of the word singularity or transhumanism. So
yes.
If I just unpack those, it's really where we are going. We're going into an era where man and machine are being fused more and more and more. So the reliance on your devices and what you just do within that virtual realm is becoming more important, which is why I say this is the real career of the future, because we're going to be whatever we do from here onwards is going to have some sort of tech component to it and some kind of human component. So we've got this duality, and UX is really going to be able to lead us through that. And just more and more and more, if anyone's in marketing or advertising, they know already about this elusive Omnichannel that you have to do, because your customer is on so many different platforms all the time, and to try and get that marketing message thoroughly through that one, have one consistent messaging is part of UX. So the UX for me is really becoming more and more important, and you can see it as we sort of stumble into a highly technological era, how some people just fall flat on UX and how some people really excel in it.
Most definitely. I think one primary observation is the banking system in this country. Whilst we have a brilliant financial sector, a lot of the user experience in terms of online banking has only really surfaced in the past, I'd say, 5 to 10 years. And I think that's a big point as well. I know FNB was the first bank to jump on with their enhanced user experiences, but I know that Standard Bank is only jumping on in the last year. And when I look at this fantastic quote that your niece said, it was bad UX can disenfranchise people. Now, I think that's very important to notice in this age of customer centricity, that we do not do that.
Exactly. And I think, we also in this era where your product, I tell a lot of my clients, which they're not really happy about, is that at the end of the day, your product becomes secondary, because we're in an era of comparative shopping, so you can really shop
Yes.
around. So what makes your product or your business experience of dealing with that brand or that company better than the other, and the answer obviously lies in UX. And like she says, I've got a friend who I think companies around the world, but especially slowly in South Africa, are starting to do that. We are sort of importing really, really sort of expensive consultants from countries like America that are totally immersed in UX. To come and consult them, and it's a software company that one of my friends works for, and he says, this person flies over, and all they do is look at what they are already building organically in terms of software, and he goes, no, can't do that, and,
Yes.
and literally breaks it down. And the quote my niece says, she says, UX is about making dozens or even thousands of tiny conscious decisions that benefit the end user. And for me, if you've got your UX correct, you are not going to feel it at all. It's going to be a completely seamless experience, and that is the holy grail of UX, to do that.
Yes.
And unfortunately, when you do have bad UX, it really, really stands out. Like a sore thumb in a highly technological era that we're in now.
Absolutely. And one of your examples is, of course, Home Affairs. Now, in this country, again, we know it is quite inefficient, and especially now that these new ID cards are being rolled out, you've said here that you can't bring your own photos like you used to. You now have to wait in your own line.
No, absolutely. I've just got a whole lot of people, and one of my friends is a pensioner, so she qualifies to be pushed up the queue so that you don't have to go through this 4 to 6 hour ordeal. And why you should have to go through this 4 to 6 hour ordeal is already questionable. But she got there and she was just told, well, there's too many of you, which already is a rude way of saying there's too many old people here. You must just stay in line there. And just the whole thing. As I said in my pieces, you don't tell people that you can't bring your own photos with. So that's one communication bad UX experience there. But they've only got one machine to service the hundreds of people that come through. So that part of it is not rocket science. So you can get a lot of basics right very, very quickly, and then you get into the real nitty-gritty, which is where the cutting edge of UX is. But we can fix so many things if people just apply their minds and look at UX as a very, very different thing. And like I said at the beginning, for me, overarching, whatever your brand is, whether you're a sort of a pharmaceutical company, a healthcare, petrol, fast-moving goods company, your UX is just going to become hyper important in the future.
But now, how do we get people to buy into this process? Because, for example, you can't go to government and say, hey, government, you need user experience, because they're going to turn around and go, well, we only have one booth, because once we've given 50 million people IDs, then what are we going to do with the other ones? So they can, there's always a cost versus, kind of calculation that you've got to do. So how do we get business and government and to buy into this whole idea of user experience and to put their product second for just a moment?
Well, I think you need to switch it the other way around. Is not what those extra machines are going to cost the department, but what the non-productivity of people having to take 4 to 6 hours out of work is costing the company, and looking at it in a much more holistic way. Because for any company or brand, if you get your UX right, your productivity and your profit margin is going to go up. So if you're looking at, in a public sector, the same rules apply. You're going to have to, if you up it, yes, it might be a financial cost, but in terms of the really big picture of the country's GDP and productivity going up, for me, that's far more of an important equation to consider.
Right, I see. And I also read an article where they said they were going to be outsourcing these IDs to banks. Now, is that a user experience thing to do, or is user experience solely focused on the website or the experience in the actual business itself?
No, I think in terms of an ecosystem, that would be a good idea, as long as those banks or your third party that's going to represent you is going to have a good user experience. It'll be flippant of me to say, but it's probably true that even if it's imperfect, the user experience that they transfer to a third party like a bank is going to be better than having to go to Home Affairs office anyway. And I think people will be much more happier to be able to do that. So yes, it takes on a whole lot of things, and just by possibly giving it to a third party, if that increases the productivity and the seamlessness of the process, then you've sort of unconsciously given a better UX experience anyway.
Right, I see. And now, where's the first point that you think most businesses go wrong with the user experience? Does it start with the website, or does it start with walking into the business through the physical doors? Where's this contention point that most people are going, actually, I'm not sure if I like this company or their product because I just don't feel comfortable?
I think it's varied. Like I mentioned with the marketing and advertising, it's this elusive omnichannel. You actually don't know where your customers first going to engage with you as a brand, or even if the Home Affairs is a brand, you don't know where it is. So it's the first online. I think in this day and age, that's your first line of defense. Is people are going to try and look on a website for that information, and then it's to kind of guide people then into that physical thing. But I think both are equally important, and that's why I've kind of highlighted UX at the moment, is because it's jumped out of just a tech space and it's come into a physical space, and that merger is just where we're going to go in the future. So you've got to get both of those things right. But I think where user experience starts is not with the brand ethos or the product. It's let's help our customer.
Yes.
And putting yourself in that customer shoes and finding solutions for their problems. And now that's where user experience starts.
Right, absolutely. Because we were chatting to another contributor the other day on eBizRadio for one of our BizWires episodes. And what this particular lady does is that she goes into businesses and goes, well, when I walk in through these doors, what do I see? What do I experience? How have I designed the place and all that? And she says that is actually integral to the way people receive you and your brand. It's not just it's the physical space. How open and welcoming are you as you walk through these doors? And now that is obviously an alternative career path for a lot of people, and something I think people wouldn't have considered. So UX as a career path, I think, is something that obviously hasn't been explored before. But for those out there who don't know really what they want to do, how profitable or how worth it would be going into UX be?
Well, I think it'll be really, really profitable. The only problem is that in terms of courses, they're sort of far and few between in South Africa. So we only slowly getting up to speed. As you said, a lot of the banks are doing UX. They've got little departments starting up. My friend who works in a software development company. So in South Africa, it still sits in a tech space. But if there's any proof that you need that this is going to be the career of the future, my niece literally just finished this month with the course, and she's already been snapped up. There was no waiting period. She literally didn't even sort of complete walking out of the building, and she's been offered numerous positions in different companies. So yes, you are going to, for the more forward-thinking companies, you're going to be snapped up immediately, and I really don't think there's going to be a shortage of job opportunities for you.
Well, that's absolutely great, and I suppose if you begin now with a course, in a year or two, people will have jumped onto the idea, and it'll be a nice little competitive market for those to do better and forward themselves. Now, if somebody wants to do a course, do we have courses in South Africa, or is it more online at the moment?
It's more online. I did check it out. There's certain sort of large companies which do it internally. So I think companies like Deloitte or those auditing firms are doing it. But I think just the fact that it is on people's radar and that you can start moving towards that and wanting to do that, I think is a good start to kind of combat the sort of the lack of a lot of places giving formal courses to it. And I think even if you have the means even to do those kind of studies in a country where you are able to do it and then come back and do that, then really the sky's the limit, because you're going to be able to move into any sector as fast as possible. Absolutely.
Now, South Africa, a final question, I suppose, is South Africa, where do we play with the rest of the world? Are we catching on at pretty much the same time, or are we a little bit behind, or are we a little bit ahead?
No, I think in terms of the UX, we do lag behind, because it's the 2.0 of sort of customer experience, and we're still kind of dealing with quite nuts and bolts customer experiences, and I don't think the kind of term UX has really embedded itself in a very, very generic way across all industries. So it's very spotted in particular industries, but it is going to spread, and it will morph into different forms. So exactly like you said, your other contributor, it is a different side of UX, but as an umbrella, UX is really going to be important.
Absolutely. I can only agree. And I'm actually quite looking forward to it. I think it's another kind of branch off from customer centricity, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it evolves. And that brings us to the end of this edition of eBizTrends. Dion, thank you very much for taking the time to chat to me once again here on eBizRadio.
Great. Thanks very much.